All right, hello. Welcome back. Chase Thomas Podcast, taping this on a Wednesday night. Old friend OG here on the Blue Wire Pod Network. The Athletics, Jovan Buha. Jovan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. It's been a bit since we talked, and not a lot has happened with the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot.
Pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got a new owner, Jay Moore, taking over in a row.
He was in Jerry Maguire, right?
I have.
No, I'm saying he was in the movie.
Oh,
I believe so. I want to say.
I haven't seen it in that.
I was gonna
recently.
say sports agent Jay Moore, but
yeah. Have you seen him at games? Has that been known in circles? Okay.
Yeah. They're often together at games.
Interesting. Okay. See, this is no surprise. I saw this and I was like, sure, that sounds about right. Like Jay Moore. Okay. I love the transition from like Phil Jackson to Jay Moore. You never know. You never know who the right person is for you. Jovan, Christmas coming up. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the big gift for the little man? What is the big one this year? He's not going to listen to the pod.
Yeah, he wants Legos. It's just all different kinds of Lego sets. So he's in a Lego phase.
Okay.
So
were you a Lego kid?
A little bit. I had a, not really. I would say I had I was more of an action figure guy.
Okay, like Power Rangers?
Yeah, Power Rangers or like Batman or Ninja Turtles or like stuff like that. So I was more into like having like battles and different things with my action figures and like playing out different scenarios and then I transitioned into doing that with basketball. And I would like play outside in my backyard and like simulate games and like defend myself, which didn't really make sense, but it made sense in my head. And it was fun.
I like it. I used to do, I grew up in a cul-de-sac and there was like a really cool like sewer drain that worked perfectly for a home plate. So I would just pretend I was in a stadium and I turned my cul-de-sac into a baseball stadium and just would throw the ball up in the air and smack it to different parts of the neighborhood.
Did you ever break a window with that?
No, I did not, thankfully. But it was mostly tennis balls. So I probably would have broken a window and it would have been a bit... I don't think my parents would have let me do that every day if I had been going full-on baseball with that, because that would have absolutely led to not even a broken window, but like I would have hit a car, because there were a lot of cars around. Like there's some liners and that wouldn't have gone well. That's interesting. Like I've heard a couple of my friends who have kids now who talk about like Legos and that place, for whatever reason, Legos just stand the test of time. Like for whatever reason, they're just like never going anywhere. It doesn't matter what generation, like kids are still just, they're going down the Lego hunt. I was not a Lego kid. And I remember I complained one time when I was younger because I went to someone's house and they were like, oh, you want to play Legos? Like this whole thing was like, he had a whole room. And I was like, this is, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Do you not have any like NBA trading cards? Do you have any games?
I was into trading cards. I was a big, first Pokemon cards and then transitioned to basketball cards. But yeah. I wish I kept those. It's not how I'm wired. It's just funny. I feel like kids just have to be wired that way. Some are future engineers, like the Lego kids, and some are like us, who are like, I'm just gonna go pretend I'm playing in the NBA or Major League Baseball or get some trading cards. Jovan, a team you cover, the Los Angeles Lakers. I had Corbin Ford on, who's a Lakers fan, last week, and one of the things I had posited, and I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, where I still maintain that LeBron James has already played his last important NBA minute, like playoff minute. I think we don't have to relitigate that part of it, but the thing that was coming up over the last few weeks was like, oh, Anthony Davis MVP conversation, because he's down low, he's playing the 5, he's dominating. The Lakers are winning a little bit. They were still like 3 games under 500 when that chatter was really strong. And like, I just pushed back where I'm like, well, no, he's not in the MVP conversation. Like the Lakers can't win enough games. Like they're not anywhere close to being in that position where Anthony Davis would win enough games. And also,
it's early December, late November. Can we see if he plays the 5 for 6 months straight? Can we see if that's even sustainable at this point? Like, I'm gonna hedge against it. I'm gonna go. I think we've seen post bubble what Anthony Davis is like, and it's a great player, and I wish we could turn injuries off. But I didn't see it. And then you get the foot injury, and as someone who is recovering from a broken foot in September, it's not a fun thing to come back from. Just dealing with the foot and dealing with anything like this, especially when you're a basketball player and you're just on your feet and you have to run a lot. Foot injuries are scary, and they're not great, especially for big men. And it's just a real pain in the butt to get back. But with you, Jovan, and what happened with AD, I mean, how much of it was him moving to the 5 and taking on that burden that he's very much been reluctant to do full time since being a Laker, and how much of it was just bad luck? And you're like, all right, well, the Lakers, they were maybe turning the corner, but now it's like, all right, well, they're in a weird spot.
I think it was more the latter. I don't really think playing the 5 has, I mean, it's definitely more taxing. But I would say, if anything, I think it's more of like the workload that has come with the roster construction and him having to play so many minutes. And you look at, I just wrote this today, like LeBron is averaging 39 minutes a game over his last 5 games. And like, that's just too high, of a number for LeBron to be playing at this point in his career. And AD was at a similar figure before he went down against Denver. So I think, if anything, like just the amount that he's had to do on both ends, and maybe that's more physically taxing at the 5 versus at the 4. But I don't think, like, and that was always the thing, was I kind of rejected the premise, like, that would be kind of the previous point that would be made, was like, AD doesn't want to play the 5 because it's so much more physically taxing. And I was like, well, like, yes and no. Like, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to bang probably with a Jonas Valanciunas or Steven Adams, but like, there are kind of ways that you can avoid that, or you could, like, I thought Markieff Morris was a really key guy for them when they had him during that championship run, where he could kind of deal with those guys, and they would go smaller, but then like AD would kind of play more the 4 defensively in some regards, and Keefe could kind of bang. So I think a lot of it has to do with just the roster construction, and up until this point, Thomas Bryant had been basically unplayable until these last few games, where he's just like shot out of a cannon, and all of a sudden it's like 17-7, and he's knocking down threes and playing really well. But like Damian Jones has been unplayable. Wenyen Gabriel has been their second best big man this season, and he was someone who we didn't even know if he was going to be on the roster entering the season, and all of a sudden, like, he's playing well, but he's also 6'9", pretty athletic, but kind of undersized for a traditional 5. So I think the Lakers, like, from a roster construction perspective, haven't done AD any favors. That's why I was on team trade for Miles Turner. I think Turner and AD would be a great fit together. I think if you were in a lab designing the ideal big to partner with Anthony Davis, it would look like something like Miles Turner, where it's like a 3-and-D big, where offensively you're spacing the floor, you're letting AD be a roll man, post up, ISO, do all the things he likes to do inside the arc. And then Turner is a catch and shoot guy, pick and pop guy, trail guy in transition. And then defensively, it's kind of recreating that big defensive lineup that worked with JaVale McGee back in the championship season. And we've seen AD thrive in that kind of 2 big system. So I think for me that was a kind of a missed opportunity for the Lakers. But I think it just is, honestly, it's kind of a freak injury. I think he clearly is brittle to some extent, because we just see like certain guys absorb the contact and come down, like LeBron. He will have that type of play, come down, tie his shoe a little bit tighter, and he's okay. AD, it's a serious foot injury. Like, it's just I think there's something with his body where he just kind of absorbs contact or whatever, like a different way. And it's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for the Lakers, but that's what they have to deal with now. And it sucks, because he was probably playing the best basketball, definitely the best basketball he's played in LA outside of maybe the bubble, but potentially the best basketball of his career, at least from a statistical perspective. Like, he was just amazing these last few weeks, and it just sucks that he has to go through another setback where likely will be some form of rehab, and he's going to be out a while.
And you worry too because it's not like he didn't break anything, right?
We don't really know like what the injury is yet, which is also kind of weird. You know, we're on day 5 since the injury, and there's been no formal announcement from the team. There's been no official timeline. You know, the Athletics' Shams Charania reported it's going to be at least a month, so we kind of have a time frame there of like a minimum of 4 weeks. But could it be 6 weeks? Could it be 8 weeks? Could it be 12 weeks? Like, I think that's still all in play right now. And ESPN reported today that he's getting a second and third opinion on his foot, which is never a great sign. And also to me indicates the Lakers and AD probably aren't liking the answer that they're hearing right now. And they're really trying to, you know, confirm that it's maybe as bad as it's seeming. So we don't, I mean, it sounds like it's not a break because he did have an MRI and you know, I think that would have been revealed, but you know, is it some form of a tear or something, or, you know, could it be something more serious like a Liz Frank? Like, I don't know, but it is weird that like we're almost a week into this and there's been no official announcement.
Could also be like a stress fracture or something like that. It could be something where they're debating what the best course of rehab or coming back of, like, should you just get surgery and bite the bullet and be out for a little bit and just get it completely taken care of? Should you just rehab it and work on it? Like, I mean, it's just funny because like I now have all this experience and I've just asked so many questions at my PT and just been so curious to like, I'll just see people. I'm like, what'd you do to your foot? Because I have now a sixth sense, Jovan. When you break your foot and you walk around in a boot for 2 months, you start just noticing everybody else's foot issues and you see how other people walk, and when you have to fix your walk, and like I've had to fix my gait and getting back to normal and all that kind of stuff. It's just feet, you're just on it so much. When you break your arm or whatever, like you can just put in a sling and you're done. It's an easy thing to come back from a shoulder or anything like that. Foot is just, I don't know. When I saw that, I'm like, I don't know if AD's 100% ever game this season, because you're just going to have to trust it. And if you don't have surgery or anything like that, it's just scary because there's just so much stress that you put on your feet, especially in basketball and especially for these big guys. I don't know. You're just going to be, every Laker fan, if he just does come back in a month and a half, is just going to be extremely nervous when he moves up and down the court, because it's just really hard to deal with foot injuries. Like it's just hard.
Yeah. And I think like, I'm sure you saw the play, but it was also like a really freaky play where like, I've never seen someone injure their foot like midair where he basically like got his foot caught on Nikola Jokic's calf, and all of a sudden like that was the injury. Like that was, usually it's like, you know, you land funny, you twist it, you sprain it, like whatever. It's usually the impact of the landing, but not like in air, something like that happening. So that was just, I mean, he just had so many of these freak accidents where someone falls into his leg and it just twists weird, or you know, he moves it weird. Like it's just he has so many freak acts. But like at some point it's like, you know, if it continues to happen, which it has, like this is now the third straight season he suffered a major injury. Like, and obviously before he came to LA, he had the injury history in New Orleans. Like it's kind of like, I don't know if it matters whether he's injury prone or not, but I feel like he you know, you only have so long of a career, right? So like you can say it's random, and you can say like, you know, all these things kind of just happen to him. But like, if you have a 15-year career and you get injured in like 10 or 11 of those years, like, I mean, that's the sample size, right? And you know, you can say, if he played 100 years, he would have only gotten injured like 20 times. Well, 10 of those happen to be like the years he played, you know? So it's one of those things now where it is adding up. And, you know, I don't know if this changes anything with the Lakers and AD, like long term. I think it's too early to have that conversation, but I do wonder, like, you know, it's really kind of tough to rely on him playing 60 plus games in a given season at this point, which is the way the last 3 years have gone.
In the short term, Jovan, like how screwed are the Lakers without AD?
I don't think they're as screwed as you might think. But with the caveat that that's like the next month. I think the next month is a relatively like decent stretch for them. It is road heavy, and they have not played well on the road. So I could be wrong, and they could just unravel completely. But they only play one top 4 team, and that's Denver, in the next month. And they play Atlanta twice, Miami twice. So like they played some solid teams, but they have 4 really winnable games. They play Charlotte twice, they play Houston, and they play Orlando. Like you got to win those games. You can't drop any of them. And you win those, and then all of a sudden, can you steal a game at home against Atlanta or Miami? Like, can you, beat? They just have a lot of these like kind of mid-tier playoff or play-in teams that you just got to, they play Sacramento a couple times. Like, you just got to steal 1 or 2 of those, and all of a sudden you're 6-8 or 7-8 without AD. And like, yes, they're already, they're 13-17, 4 games under 500. So you're still not in a great spot, but you've at least treaded water. Like, that's in the optimistic case. Now, of course, if AD's out 2 to 3 months, they're really screwed, because if you look at the rest of their schedule, like post mid-January, then it gets like, they at Boston, back-to-back in New York. They're playing like the good teams again, and they got a Phoenix in there. And like, so I think if it's like, if it says the optimistic timeline where AD's out 4 weeks, and he comes back, it's not that serious of an injury, they get another opinion, and it's more optimistic. Like, I think they could tread water and potentially still make the play-in tournament. If he's out for 2 to 3 months, I think it's a wrap. Like, they're already 12th in the West. Like, you can just kind of pencil them in there, 12th or 13th, and I think that there's really no upside to the rest of the season.
LeBron gets to go to the college tour with Bronny, though. In that scenario,
yeah. I mean, he's going to pass Kareem, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of...
Well, it's like when he gets there, and then he's like, all right, Bronny, we're going to Oregon, we're going to Ohio State. Where do you want to go this spring? Where do you want to go visit?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's where it's at. It's interesting. Like, there's a lot riding on this AD diagnosis and kind of the timeline, because I think it's really going to dictate how aggressive they are in the trade market, as well as really the direction of their season. Like, do they still have a shot? Or if it's 2+ months, I think it's probably over.
Do you think internally they believe they can still win the title if AD gets right, and with the roster is currently constructed? Do you think that was
not with the current roster? No.
Okay.
I think that they're aware that they need to make a move to be a true contender. And really, right now, I don't think they think there's a move out there that would make them a true contender, and there probably isn't. Unless.
I guess like Bradley Beal, because the Wizards have lost like $1 billion in a row, something like that.
But even then, you gotta like, if we were starting the season and records were 0-0, like but if they're 12th in the West and they get Bradley Beal, like maybe you punch up to like 9th or 8th, but like that's still a
well, what helps is like the West is bad right now. Like the West
is pretty bad.
Like the Warriors are still like 5 games out of first.
So it's I think. For them, I think like everything's kind of riding on this AD situation, and then after that, it's like, how do they fare without AD, and can they be competitive the next couple weeks, the next 2-3 weeks, and kind of show some fight, which they've been showing recently, and then also which teams become sellers and who's available, and is Bojan Bogdanovic the crown jewel of the trade market, or is it a Bradley Beal? Is it a Zach LaVine? Is it a DeMar DeRozan? Or is it an unforeseen star that gets disgruntled somewhere, and a situation arises where the Lakers can kind of swoop in? And like the Bradley Beal one's interesting to me just because he has a no trade clause, so Washington can't just trade him anywhere. He has to approve it, and We've seen now in recent NBA history, when stars demand a trade or want out, it's the big markets. It's rarely, it's the 2 LA teams, it's the 2 New York teams, it's like Miami, and then it's like maybe another random warm weather city where it's Dallas, it's Phoenix, it's Atlanta or something. But like it's usually a like it's the warm weather places and like the biggest cities. And I think so. I mean, I don't. This is just speculation, but I would assume if Bradley Beal did want out of Washington, or Washington comes to him and says, "Hey, like we're going to pivot. This just we're not even going to be a play-in team. Like we need to trade you. Where would you like to go?" I would assume the Lakers would be on the list. Doesn't mean they're going to be the favorites. Doesn't someone else can probably top their offer realistically, but Lakers are probably on that list. And if the other teams aren't interested or because it's a lot of money. I mean, that's the other thing with Bradley Beal is like all things being equal, like, yeah, Bradley Beal's a superstar and top 20, top 25 guy, but that's a lot of money to commit to a guy who's already 29, almost 30. You're committing 50 plus million a year for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. So the Lakers are willing to take that on if he becomes available. From what I've heard. So I think like something like that is interesting, but barring that happening, there really just isn't much out there that's going to move the needle. And I think they missed the window with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield most likely. Indiana's played well. Miles Turner's had a great season. So like
they're falling down a little bit. They're in the play-in now.
Yeah, like I mean that maybe that pops up again. I think that ship has sailed, but just looking at the trade market, like there just isn't much out there. And I reported some names today, but like it's just none of them really move the needle.
No, because what the Lakers have to do, they can't do, right? Like they can't really move AD. Like you just can't do that. And with his injury, like they're in this weird spot now where they cashed in the remainder of their chips with Russ, and Russ has been fine off the bench, but it's like he's not bringing anything in, and then you kind of are tied with AD and LeBron until the end of this. And I mean, they're not deep enough to win the West, and they also just don't have the pieces to really figure out how to get there. And then the option of just start fresh is also not on the table because you just can't with LeBron and company. So I don't know. I think the Lakers have backed themselves into a corner that that's why I've been kind of pessimistic the last 2 years about their direction. I'm just like, I think they're in a corner, and I don't think even a really great GM, because I mean Pelinka, everyone has different takes on the job performance of Pelinka thus far, but like I think no matter what, they're just in a bind that I don't think any kind of GM would want to try and get out of, because it sucks. I think they're just in a really, really crappy situation right now.
Yeah, and you have been on it. You've been. I mean, last year, I got to give you credit. You were pessimistic on.
I said they weren't a playoff team last year.
Yeah, and everyone had them. I mean, they were the West favorites entering the season, and I had them a little bit. I think I had them like third or fourth, at least in seeding. Where I was like, I don't think they're gonna have the best record in the West, but like probably what I mean. Yeah, I think I had Lakers Nets finals last year, which was hilarious in retrospect. But yeah, I mean, I think from what I've heard, it sounds like the most realistic outcome is something like Kendrick Nunn, Patrick Beverley, and a first round pick probably protected for some type of upgrade. And it's not going to be, it's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be, I think, a really significant needle mover, but can you get Bogdanovich with that? Maybe. I feel like that might be on the lower end of Bogdanovich packages, but like I think it gets you in the conversation depending on the protections. Can you get Jay Crowder is a tough one just because I think Phoenix is going to want a legitimate rotation guy, and I don't think Pat or Kendrick I don't think they're doing that with Phoenix. And then you just kind of go across the league, and it's like it's hard to find it's hard to find a deal that makes sense, but I think that's kind of what they're working with right now is like those two guys are movable. We're willing to move one first, but Russ and 2 firsts, like there just isn't a package out there that makes sense for that. And I think they're wisely valuing their first round picks after kind of the way it's backfired, where they've kind of been a little careless with their first round picks in recent years and just kind of thinking win now and go all in. And that did work. They won a championship that way, but giving a pick away for Russ, and then giving a pick. They're just giving up several picks over the last few years that probably could have been saved or lotto protected or whatnot. So I think for them that they're trying to be prudent with just their approach, and to your point, like they're kind of in a tough spot. So it's like, yeah, could we maybe make a deal that gets us 5 to 7 more wins? Like maybe, but what's that worth, right? Is that worth a first round pick at the end of the decade? Like when we could be a lottery team then, and or we could have rebuilt and have AD and another star and like be needing to add in that first round pick to either upgrade the roster or just to have another young piece with our core. Like, what's the point of doing that for this group when like realistically they probably don't have a championship ceiling?
Yeah, I think the hope is like after next year, LeBron's like, all right, I'm good. I'm just gonna go watch Bronny play, like, and retire. Like, you hope that happens, and then you can trade AD to kind of help reset and keep these picks and go back to and just kind of reshuffle this whole thing and start from scratch, because I just don't know I don't know a better path right now for this team. In terms of Russ, though, the narrative has shifted a little bit, and it seems like he's having fun, and he's joking with Dave McMenamin of ESPN about his role and playing well. Like what did he do? He did the 15-5-5 off the bench thing, and that's been good for him. But it seems like he's happy, and it seems like the vibes there have changed. Jovan, what has actually changed on the floor as someone who has watched Russ play for an extended stretch now off the bench? Is he doing anything different, or is it just the expectations have shifted because he's off the bench? Like, what is actually real in terms of Russell Westbrook's play over the last month or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think you put it well. I think he's playing with more joy. I think he's found his joy playing basketball in a way that really was gone last season. I would say his positive interactions with the media are still few and far between. So I want to clarify that has not changed. But I think, and I've been saying this, and it's funny because I get labeled a Russ hater, or Russ, the Russ army comes after me on Twitter. But I've been saying, like, Russ is still a good player. Now, I think like that contract is just has not aged well. And I think with his style of play, which hasn't really changed much this season, there's just a limitation to how good you can be if he's your second or even third best player, just with the way that, just his limitations in terms of his turnovers and his shooting. And so I think for him, the biggest thing has been bringing him off the bench and staggering him and LeBron more, and just playing those two guys less together. You've seen, like, Russ is at his best with the ball in his hands. Like, we've just seen that throughout his career, and the Lakers have created, you got to give Darvin Ham credit. Like, he's created opportunities for Westbrook that he didn't always have last season. And it's there's been dedicated Westbrook and Westbrook AD lineups there were last season, to some extent, but there was more kind of naturally LeBron and Westbrook lineups just because of them starting and often closing games together. So you've seen Darvin isn't afraid to bench him in crunch time. And I think that's done that's helped the Lakers. It's also held Russ accountable, where I think you've seen him at times play more efficient in crunch time because of kind of knowing the stakes of, like, if I'm playing careless, I'm going to get pulled out. But you've also, I think, just seen him grow with AD, in the pick and roll. And Darvin really, I think, put certain lineups around him. Thomas Bryant, he has really good chemistry with. Austin Reeves, Troy Brown. Like, he's kind of created this bench unit that has played really well together. And really guys who like to get out in transition, guys who are athletic, and guys who just kind of fit with what Russ needs. Now, I think, is he worth $47 million? No. Do you like him in crunch time? No. I mean, you've seen in recent weeks, teams just put their center on him and park that guy in the lane. And Boston did it beautifully down the stretch of that game that they had last week, where Luke Cornett, of all people, was defending Russ, and it was just like he was just messing everything up for the Lakers. It's like LeBron and AD run a pick and roll. There's Luke Cornett as the third defender in the action, and like you're swinging the ball to Russ, and he's either afraid to shoot because he's missed so many, or he's taking the shot and he's missing it. And it's just like, and he'll occasionally hit one, and but I think he's still obviously not a good shooter, and I just think there's a limitation there to that fit with him, LeBron, and AD. It's never going to be a clean fit, but I think the Lakers have really maximized him. He's bought into the role. He deserves credit too for accepting a bench role and accepting Darvin benching him at times. But I think it's more of a temporary thing where I've seen. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Lakers do re-sign him on keep him and re-sign him. I'm highly skeptical of that, but I think if they end up keeping him, which I think they are as of now, it's more to do so which is it's going to take 2 picks to get off his contract, and they don't want to give up those 2 picks, especially when the return is likely going to be low. So, people can say it's because he's playing well, or all of a sudden it's a better fit, and like those two things are kind of true, but I think it's just more to do with like still no one wants to take on that contract, and that could change by the trade deadline. We still got a month and a half left, but until that changes, I think that the price of 2 first-round picks is just too steep for the Lakers.
Interesting. Should contenders, like, to kind of pivot off the Lakers, Jovan, because I just feel like you just spend so much time in Lakerland. Like, there's just so much time Jovan Buha spends dealing with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Russ stands that, like, he needs a break every now and then. And, it could be worse. You could be in the cold covering a dysfunctional team that is playing my Hawks in a little bit, the Chicago Bulls, where it's just... You look at the roster and you look at the group, and I mean, Alex Caruso, I wish there was a way to just send him back to Los Angeles. That was like, there's sometimes where there's just partnerships that end where you're like, can we just get a do-over? Like, obviously this is not in the best interest of both parties. They made a mistake. Let's just, you get a whoopsie and they just go back. Like, Caruso never should have left the Lakers, and the Bulls should never have brought in Caruso. But part of it is like, I mean, we both are big Lonzo guys, and this has been rough for them to see just kind of, it's out of their hands, right? Like with what's going on with Lonzo, and it's nothing against Lonzo. It's just another one of those injury things where it's like, man, this just sucks. Like, it just sucks. The knee stuff, he wants to be back, and he is an important cog in what they were trying to do. Like, they were trying to build this really great defensive team with Patrick Williams, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso. It made sense to surround as many capable defenders around Zach LaVine as possible. It made sense. I think the Vucevic trade did not make sense. That was one that we were all at the time like, this is weird. I wouldn't have done that, but whatever. And then DeRozan had an MVP-esque season a year ago, and you look at his numbers this year and last year, and the fit, and it's just the on-off is bad. Like, the points per possession is bad when your starting lineup is struggling as much as it is without Lonzo. It doesn't matter if it's Ayo. It doesn't matter if it's Caruso. They're struggling. And I look at it and I'm like, I think maybe a lot of the problem when you see like LaVine and DeRozan don't know how to play together, but it's like they're both in the 98th percentile or close to it in usage. And I'm like, I think they kind of have to, because they're playing a lot of lineups with just guys who can't really create. Vooch, Patrick Williams, Derek Jones, Alex Caruso, the ghost of Goran Dragic. Like, you just look at this and I'm like, I think they're just kind of screwed. I think this is just an untenable situation in Chicago, and it's kind of sad because they really I think played above what they actually were a season ago, and now they've come crashing down way more than I thought they would come crashing down. But I don't know. It's a tough league to be this good year over year when you don't really have a true star, and they just have a weird roster that I think they need to fix stuff. How would you fix the Bulls, Jovan?
Blow it up.
Yeah.
I'm on team blow it up. I guess to me, Chicago is almost Minnesota East. Because I was on. I really like to pat myself on the back, but one thing I will pat myself on the back for was I was very low on Minnesota coming into the season. I know a lot of people were picking them as like a top 4 seed.
I had them being the number 1 seed going into the playoffs in the West.
Okay, so
Jovan, that's a huge miss. So I may have hit on the Lakers, but I absolutely missed.
I just did not like this. I did not like the Gobert Towns fit. I thought they were going to miss Patrick Beverley from a leadership perspective, and I didn't really like the depth of the team. And but we're not talking about Minnesota here, but I just feel like Chicago is kind of a similar situation where I think it's some ill-fitting parts, and honestly, just the East is. Like, even at their peak, like, let's just say Lonzo's healthy, and because of that, we'll just say everyone's healthy. Let's just say the entire league's healthy. Like, where are you realistically putting them in the East? Because I'm still putting Boston and Milwaukee clearly ahead of them, and I would probably put Brooklyn and Philly ahead of them, and that's, now you're talking like 5th at best. I'd still put Cleveland ahead of them. I like what I've seen from Cleveland this season. So, like, you're talking about at best like a 6 seed. And then you still got Miami, who I know they haven't had a great season, but like I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that's like a 6 or 7 seed that's still tough out in the playoffs and pushes like a team in the first round to 6 or 7 games. Like, and then okay, are they really better than like Toronto and Atlanta, and like, you know, we're going now down to like 7, 8, 9 range, and I just think like that's where they are at best, and obviously they're not healthy and not at their best right now. So for me, I would just blow it all up. You know, maybe keep Lonzo, keep Patrick Williams, like maybe keep some of the younger guys, but DeRozan, Vooch, and Zach LaVine, I'm trading all 3 of them and getting back as many picks and as many young, you know, interesting guys as I can get, and I'm rebuilding. And it sucks because they just kind of went all in like 18 months ago to try to make this a competitive team in a competitive situation. But the fact of the matter is, I just don't think this is better than like a 6 seed as constructed, and most likely a first round and out. Mm-hmm. And you know, unless you just want to put butts in seats and have an exciting team and win 45 to 50 games every year, like that's fine. You know, that, I mean, you saw that in Atlanta for almost a decade. But if you really want to contend, I don't think this core is going to get it done. And I think it's time for them to move on. And you know, it sucks to do it kind of so quickly, but I think it's better to pull the plug now than, you know, go through the year, wait till the summer, and like I just think do it now, and you're probably going to get more.
I also think it's under talked about. Like, there's so much focus on Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. Missing on Patrick Williams that high in the lottery. This is the kind of thing that happens. Is like, if he is, because he was like one of those high upside guys, right? Like, okay, well, we can turn him. There's just every year we're going to see the team is like, we can turn him into Kawhi Leonard. Like, he can be our
Which
Kawhi
is insane
Leonard.
Because there's one Kawhi Leonard.
Exactly, but a lot of teams go into that with that mindset, right? Like, Toronto's doing it right now with Scotty Barnes, where it's like our development. Nick Nurse we can get there with Scotty. We just won a title with a Kawhi Leonard. We know what we're doing. We know how to redo this. It's easier said than done. Like you said, there's one Kawhi Leonard. Patrick Williams, you look up all the different lineups. They're bad. Everything with Patrick Williams in it. It's just the shooting's not there. He's not that kind of guy. And when you miss that high in the lottery, it just really, really comes back to bite you, because everybody else, like, it's really just Zach LaVine's the holdover here. And if he hit, then you're like, oh, all healthy, like Lonzo, Patrick Williams is a young star, DeMar DeRozan is a supplemental 3rd or 4th guy on a really good team. Like, everything looks a lot better. But because you missed on Patrick Williams, and I think now we're at the point where we can say that's probably, this is who he is at this point, and the stardom is not coming for Patrick Williams, then you're like, all right, well, like you said, we just kind of have to blow it up. But I worry for Chicago's perspective. I don't know what you get. Like, I don't think DeRozan really brings in a great haul. I don't think Zach LaVine at this point brings in a great haul. I'm sure he brings in the best of anyone.
I know a team that would be willing to give up a couple picks.
Oh, is it a certain team out of the Los Angeles area?
Yeah, I think Lakers would definitely be interested in DeRozan and Zach LaVine.
But does he fix anything? Like, does he help? Does he move the needle? Can they really give up more depth for Zach LaVine? Like, Bradley Beal, I understand it a little bit more. Zach LaVine, I don't know.
I think he's a better fit than Russ, but that bar is relatively low.
Yeah.
Like, you know, most stars are a better fit than Russ. I think DeRozan or LaVine would definitely be an upgrade. Now, you are really going all in. Again, if you're attaching those 2 picks, like those are your chips. You do get your pick back on draft night in 2023, but like, you know, for the most part, that's kind of your all in move. But I think it's something the Lakers will monitor. Now, you know, they might, you know, that versus getting back an interesting young guy plus maybe, you know, another pick or a couple picks from someone else. Like, I think there's ways for, like, the Lakers have a finite amount of stuff they can give up, and it's really pick heavy. Like, you know, it's the 2 picks are kind of the appealing thing. So can the Bulls find something else that's potentially more interesting? Like, for sure, I think that's possible. But with DeRozan and LaVine, I think both of them, you know, DeRozan is from LA, played at USC, has the obvious LA connection, the Kobe connection. You know, Zach, you know, West Coast guys. So I think there's
played
like
at UCLA.
Yeah, played at UCLA from the Seattle area. So I think like there's definitely something there, but we'll see, right? Like it's always easy it's easy for us to say to blow it up, and versus actually doing it. It takes a certain level of gall and gumption and all these G words. So I think it's easy for us to say it, but like especially for a big market team too, because I think that's the other thing is like I talked to Troy Brown earlier in the season, and he was talking about I asked him about the attention in LA, like the media attention, and he was like, I was like, you went Washington, Chicago, LA. It feels like you're kind of like elevating in terms of like attention and fan base and like each situation. And he was like, honestly, Chicago and LA are like basically the same. Like, and he's like, last year, like Bulls fans and just the city was like so in love with that team because they were finally good after not being good for several years. So like, when it's good in Chicago, it's really good. And like, I feel like that's hard to give that up. All right, like that's kind of the Knicks problem, right? They've been searching for that and kind of miring in mediocrity and so I don't know. I guess we'll see if it happens. I think it's possible, but I could also see it maybe them doing a half measure where they trade one of the two and then just see like, can we remain competitive? And in that case, I don't know if the Westbrook deal makes sense for them. That's more of like, we're just tearing it all down and we'll give Russ the keys for a half season and then, he'll sign somewhere else.
I think that's why you bring in Arturas, right? Because he comes from the Denver front office of trying to navigate through the middle. Like, I think this is a navigate through the middle kind of team. So I would guess LaVine's still there, and I think they moved DeRozan. I think they're just like, they do him a solid of like, hey, where do you want to go? Be a contender. Where do you want? Like, I can see him in New York too. New York's won 6, 7, 8 straight. You're like, all right, let's just do this. That's a very New York thing of like, all right, we'll bring in DeMar DeRozan now. I don't know. I could see that. Speaking of the Knicks, Jovan, I think this is pretty interesting. I mean, everything's coming up New York. It's very weird. The Jets and Giants both might be playoff teams. You have the Nets and Knicks both, if playoffs started today, are in the playoffs and playing really good basketball. You have the Yankees and Mets gobbling up all the best free agents. It's like everything's coming up New York. It's a little weird. But I want to ask this question. Knicks, Nets, Sixers, they're all on big win streaks right now, Jovan. Who of those three do you actually believe in the most keeping this up?
The Sixers. Yeah.
I thought you wanted to say Nets there.
Yeah, it's between, like, I'll say it's between the Sixers and the Nets. With the Nets, I just, it's one of those situations where I really, like, we were talking about earlier, we got to see AD stay healthy for a full season. I got to see the Nets not shoot themselves in the foot for an entire season before I buy in. And like, if they maintain this for the rest of the year and there's no drama and there's no turmoil, like, sure, I will buy in. And they obviously have the infrastructure that made them so appealing for everyone the last couple of years. I think they're most people's finals picks the last couple of years because of KD and Kyrie and previously Harden, but now Simmons. Like, they have the core that's elite, but I think just there's been so many things that have been distracting that it's been difficult to really buy into them as a true contender. I think for Philly, they obviously got off to a bad start, but I think on paper, I really like. I thought they arguably had the best offseason of any team, bringing in PJ Tucker and Daniel House and DeAnthony Melton, and like I really like the moves that they made. But it hasn't really panned out yet, but they're obviously playing much better. And I think they're a team that, as long as they can kind of gel going to the playoffs, like that is going to be a really tough team to beat in a 7-game series. I still would favor Boston or Milwaukee over them, but them against anyone else, even if they don't end up being the 3 seed, like I would give them the edge. So I think that is a team that's built for the playoffs. They got a lot of veterans. I think a lot of high IQ guys. And just, I mean, Embiid's a monster. And I think James and him have kind of figured out how to play together better. And, I mean, I think, Maxi's obviously kind of a wild card. And PJ Tucker won't shoot the ball, but I think he's been kind of done his job defensively and on the glass. And, We haven't even mentioned Tobias, who I think is obviously solid. So, I mean, the one thing with them is I saw it. I mean, they just had that game against the Lakers where they blew a massive lead and it went to overtime. I mean, they were up by 9 with 38 seconds left and it ended up going to overtime. So you can't count Doc Rivers out with the ability to blow a lead at any point in a game or in a series. But I do like Philly. I think they're the most substantial of those three.
I wonder if they bet on the Maxey partnership with Harden and Embiid and just see what this looks like the whole season. I wonder if that's what they do.
You think they're going to trade him?
I don't know. It's just I think if they could move anybody, it'd be Tobias.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, you've been on the Tobias Harris beat before. I mean, hey, who didn't love Point Tobias in Clipperland those years ago? Who didn't love that, Jovan? But I don't think you're getting many takers without attaching something to Tobias, and I just don't think you're getting anything that moves the needle in Philadelphia. So I don't know. I think if he's their best asset, not named Joel Embiid and James Harden, who are just locked in. So I am curious to see what happens with Maxey and how they actually view him as a cornerstone piece, or if they have a conversation where we might be able to flip Maxey for maybe it's a Zach LaVine. That's something where it's we can upgrade with a bigger name. Maxey might be better and Maxey might profile better, but Joel, we don't know how many more years you have left. James Harden, we don't really know. So I don't know. I think that's something to monitor. Is Chicago, that's another built in the middle where it's oh, you're ready to move off Tyrese Maxey? We can give him the keys and he can be our number one usage guy, and we can see if he can become a star here, and we continue to build this out, and we'll give y'all Zach LaVine or something. I could see something like that, which would be hilarious too. Zach LaVine, James Harden, and Joel Embiid late. But I think the Sixers and Daryl Morey, we just know, wants to continue to fiddle with the teams, and I don't think he is going to keep Tyrese Maxey for the long-term benefit based on his track record. If he thinks he can surround James and Joel with another star, he's going to do that. And if Tyrese Maxey is the best avenue to doing that, he will do that to the full extent. So I think the Sixers are the team to watch in that regard, because you can like Tyrese Maxey, but it seems like the ethos for Daryl Morey is if I can turn Tyrese Maxey into another star that's ready to win now for these two guys who I am terrified of year in, year out, being healthy at the same time and making this through 100+ games, then I do it. Right?
Yeah. No, I like that. I like the LaVine fit's kind of interesting with because it's kind of it's so you're kind of reducing his responsibility offensively, where you kind of know the pecking order is Embiid and Harden, and you could get a little funky with Harden LaVine pick and rolls, and but him just being, you're the third guy, you're going to thrive in transition, you're going to thrive in second side actions, but the bread and butter is going to be Embiid and Harden, their pick and roll, or Embiid post ups and Harden ISO. I think it kind of slots him more appropriately than where in Chicago he's kind of the 1A or the 1B, and that's probably too much to ask of him. And that's where also, to bring up the Lakers, just because I'm contractually obligated to. Mm-hmm. That's where I really like the Bradley Beal fit for them, if they're able to swing that, just because I think Bradley Beal is more of a number 3 than a number 1, definitely than a number 1, but even maybe than a number 2. And putting him behind a LeBron and an AD, even if it's only temporary for a year or two, I like that fit. And LaVine, I think putting him behind Embiid and Harden kind of slots him in. I know he's gotten a lot better, and I think he's grown a lot in Chicago, but I still think he's probably more of a number 3, and that, with the role players they have and the switchability they have on the perimeter and some of the shooting that they have, I think that would be a really scary team. Yeah.
And then Nets too is just, I think Kevin Durant's number 2 in offensive real plus minus among all fours pre-ESPN, only behind Giannis. And people had AD in that MVP conversation. He's a couple spots below him. And I'm Kevin Durant's just, he's on the periphery, just being healthy and all that kind of stuff. But he is, I mean, he's playing a lot of minutes. I think he's at like 37 minutes a game, something like that right now. So hopefully he stays healthy and all that. But you go through their lineups and you're like, they're healthy. These lineups are really good. There's a lot of different, like whatever iteration you look at with Claxton, Harris, Curry, Kyrie, Ben, and Royce O'Neal. I think that's everybody. They're good. Like all the different lineups are positive. And I just... Nobody wants Kevin Durant and a healthy, locked in Kyrie Irving and company in a 7-game series. Like it's hard to beat Kevin Durant healthy 4 times in a series. The Bucks saw it a couple years ago where the Nets were down to nothing and KD still almost did it by himself. So I think among the 3, I'm probably the most optimistic on the Nets because as long as Kevin Durant is healthy, I just think if you pulled the Milwaukee, Cleveland, and who am I blanking on? The other Boston front offices. Like, who do you not want in a 7-game series? I think Boston's probably the most comfortable with the way that they're built with Tatum and Brown, and we saw what they did last year. Like, they're fine. They're like, yeah, bring Brooklyn on. But if you're Milwaukee or you're Cleveland, something like that, you're like,
I want Milwaukee, Brooklyn. That would be a fun series again.
That would be fun.
Both sides healthy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be a war. Boston, I think would feel more than fine about it. Jovan, great catching up per usual. Any big travel plans for you the holiday season?
Nah, back on the road in January. I'm done traveling for the year, so probably going to take some days off next week, post the big Christmas game against Dallas. And
is that in LA or in Dallas?
It's in Dallas. Also,
are you going?
I'm not going. Dirk Nowitzki's getting his statue, which is going to be really cool. And
how do you feel about living people getting statues?
Well, I've seen it with the Lakers gave, like, I guess it's interesting because he's so, I mean, he was just playing a couple of years ago, so I guess like that's kind of weird. Because Lakers have given it, like, Shaq has a statue, Jerry West, Magic, but those were a little bit more removed from their careers, where it was like, they're old, or like Shaq was like, I think it was almost like 7-8 years after he retired. Dirk was just playing. It feels like, he played with Luka, right? Like, so, that, I don't know. I don't like, I get maybe like the argument against it, but I'm also like, give people their flowers while they're alive. Like, you don't like, I think it's a cool, retire the jersey, give him a statue. Like, especially with Dallas, like Dirk really is the Mavericks, like I mean, there's no one that comes close to meaning as much to the Mavericks in their history as Dirk. So like, is it maybe a little unorthodox? Sure. But, I think life is short, and why not give someone their flowers?
I imagine myself like walking around a place of like, if the University of Tennessee gave me a shrine for just a job well done as an elite podcaster,
that'd be awesome, man.
No, I would decline. I would 1000% decline. Like, I don't want I'm still alive. Like, I think it's so weird to give people.
So you want to wait till he dies and then do it,
right? 100%.
Okay, are you? How do you feel about jersey retirements then?
I can't stand those either.
Okay.
I think what you do is you literally retire and you hang it up and you do all those cool things, and then you ask them, like, basically, hey, we think this guy's going to be a star, but this is also your number. It's always been his number. Are you okay with him wearing said number? And then if they say yes, you're good to go. But the idea, like Bill Russell's number being retired around the league, where it's like, okay, if you're a Timberwolves draftee, you're like, I mean, I love Bill Russell, but why can I not be this number? Because we just, what are we doing? Like, I think it's a little much with Michael Jordan's number. I mean, the Lakers, how many of the single digits are retired? Is it all but like how many? Because the Yankees are basically all gone.
It's a lot of in the 30s, because I know like Magic is 32, Kareem's 33, Shaq's 34. I think it might just be, off the top of my head, Kobe at number 8 might be the only.
Didn't they do both? I think they did 24 and 8 for him.
They did do both.
Yeah.
They did. Lakers have a lot. I mean, the crazy one's Boston. Boston has like 20-something numbers retired.
So like you can, my thing would be like, you can technically retire them, like I'm okay with that. But like if a player wants it and he's gonna be a star, whatever, like just let them have it. Like and especially if the other player is living, just be like, are you okay with this guy having the number? Because I think a lot of Chicago players would shy away from 23. I think naturally they're like, yeah, I'm good being the next number 23 in Chicago. Like I think that's a hard pass for me. And I mean, even in Lakerland, like who wants to be 8 or 24 anytime soon? Like no one wants to do that. Like it's just not, it's not what you want to do. So I don't know. I think that's a more me opinion, but you know, I have a stronger take on the statue when you're alive. I think that's weird. I think it would be weird for me to walk by it.
I could be more talked into the statue because I think there's like something to like statue and like the symbolism of like history and like, you know, most of the time statues are you know, kind of like old figures that just aren't alive, and like, you know, there aren't many like living people with statues,
which I think should be the goal. I think that was what they had in mind when they started doing statues. They were like, oh, remember this awesome person like who used to roam these streets? Let's memorialize.
I think the retired jerseys though, that's where I'm cool with the retired jersey. Like I just think it's kind of like it's almost like a Hall of Fame ceremony, or like I don't know like are you anti Hall of Fame then?
Not anti-Hall of Fame, but I will say there is not a sillier thing to get upset about than who is in and not in a Hall of Fame, regardless of sport. Like, it just doesn't matter. I promise you, it doesn't affect your life at all. Like, I've never understood.
Well, no one can name everyone in the Hall of Fame either.
No.
Like, that's the funny thing. Is like you remember the guy that you think should be in, but you can't remember like, you know, the other 300 people in it, or maybe, you know. You get my point.
Yeah, it's just not, folks, there's better ways to spend your time. There's better ways to spend your time. We'll end on this, Jovan. What was your favorite Christmas gift growing up? What's your all-time best Christmas gift?
Ooh, this is a good one. Probably like when I was younger, like I'd get like the new basketball shoe each year. Like I'd get like one basketball shoe, and it would be like I got the Kobe's that I got the Kobe 2s, not the Kobe 1s. The Kobe I really like the Kobe 1s. Those were the Adidas ones, but the Kobe 2s just look like a cylinder block. Like it was ridiculously ugly, but it was just like I was in LA, I liked the Kobe, like they were cool shoes at the time. They look like moon boots or something. But getting like T-Max or getting like LeBron's when LeBron was a rookie, like that was always the highlight, because then I knew that was going to be my shoe for the next like 6 to 8 to 10 months. And it was kind of always like, you know, what shoe do I want for the next year or so? So that was always fun. I guess that's what sticks out. The best would be kind of unrelated, but related. Like my brother would just never. We have like a running joke where my brother would just never be excited about any gift he got, and he would always just open it up and just kind of be like, "Oh, like nice." Like
that's me, Jovan.
And
that
like,
is
we started like recording it because we wanted to be like, we want to remember how much like he's just not enthused about every gift.
Look, let me go to bat for your brother, Jovan. What is your brother's name?
Nick.
Okay, Nick. When you're listening to this podcast during the holidays, remember that I went to bat for you in this regard. There are people who are really good at giving gifts, and there are people who are really good at receiving them. And it is asking a lot. And I'm this way too, where I'm like, I am not a visibly emotional person. I don't know how to like get the kind of reaction, because the anxiety that overwhelms me when someone gets me a gift that I can tell they are excited they are giving me, I don't even want to open the gift, because I already know that like they are just so excited to see my face. This is you're not married yet, but you're engaged. Here's what's going to happen, Jovan. You're going to get all these gifts, and then you get to open them privately. It was incredible to open all these nice things from people and not have to just have them stare at you while you're opening these gifts.
I like opening in private too, but if I open
it's so much better in private. Why do we do gifts in person?
I'm good at the fake, like
You can do it.
Oh, like
my wife is
great.
incredible
like,
at this.
I'm good at it. So like no matter what gift I get, I always act excited.
Yeah.
But I do prefer, if I have the option to open it privately, I'd rather open it privately and then like have my actual reaction to the gift.
Because then I can just go up and be like, oh my God, thank you so much. That was great. It was so thoughtful. Then I give them a hug and then it's great. But like in the moment and I'm just tearing it off and I'm like, oh, cool. This is a cool thing that you got me. Thank you. And they're like, is that really? I thought you were going to. And you're like, okay, I can't win. Like it's just not my personality. Is your brother an introvert?
I'd say he's more of an introvert.
That's it. I'm more of an introvert. I think it's an introvert thing. I think if you're an extrovert, you can fake it. And
I'm an introvert too, though. So
are you?
I don't know. I guess I feel bad for I feel bad that they took the time and the money to buy me something. So I'm like, it's almost like a people pleaser quality maybe where I'm like, you did this for me, so I'm gonna reciprocate by acting very excited with whatever you got me, regardless of whether I'm excited or not. But try it next time. Just see if you can force yourself to do a fake smile and do a fake, celebration at whatever you got. Wow, new socks.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's like, I like those. I like wool socks. I'm excited for it. Like, yeah, nice. Like, that's so nice. I don't know. I get in my head about it too, where I'm just like, we'll see. But this is why
I get it. It was a fun running joke with my family.
I like it. Jovan Buha, what can the good folks check out from you over at theathletic.com this week?
State of the Lakers, which is a check-in I do every 10 games on the team with 10 relevant storylines. The big one is going to be kind of talking about the trade stuff and some updates on that, but going through rookie Max Christie playing well and Thomas Bryant's resurgence, and like I get into the nitty-gritty nerdy stuff if you're a Laker fan. Also, check me out on all social platforms at Jovan Buha, especially TikTok, where I continue to post regularly and give some behind the scenes content of what it's like to be a reporter. So check that out if you're on TikTok.
There you go. I knew Jovan would be an early TikTok guy. Like Jovan and TikTok is one of the least surprising developments of my professional career. Like if I had to do a pool of like who in our industry over the last 10 years would I guess would be really good on TikTok, Jovan would be the number one pick there. Jovan, thank you as always, my friend. Hope you have a great, safe holiday season, and we will talk NBA again soon.
Sounds good, man.